God's love so they can be healed, delivered, and restored, as God is going to be restoring us today.
Amen.
In Jesus' name, amen. She sits in the Parenting and Family Support Joint Commissioning Board in the Royal Borough of Greenwich. This is a board that meets regularly to improve outcomes for children and families in Greenwich. Sister Dupe's passion to empower children and give children and young people the opportunity to succeed in life is evident in our daily interactions and networking and personal development. So can you please all rise up and welcome Sister Dupe as she takes us on this session. God bless you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I don't think she was introducing me, was she? I have a PowerPoint presentation. While we're waiting, I just want to say well done to Mr. and Mrs. Edgar and to Sister Shade for inviting me. To be honest, I did not take it for granted, and I think it was just by God's grace that I was available today. And like I told you, I do have another event today, but God just made a way, and I just want to say thank you. Thank God for you for coming. And to Pastor Diko as well. That was a powerful session. The anointing of God continues to increase on your life, and also my pastor as well, and to all the guest ministers and everything. As I've been introduced, I'm Dupe Makinde. I'm somebody that I have like Sister Shade said, when God gives you a work, it is a privilege, it's an honor to be able to work with God. When I was 19, that's when the word children came to me, and I knew that it had to do with my destiny. And sometimes you do forget about what God, not long after So not long after I came to the UK, you forget about things and you get on with life until God reminds you again that the work I've given you, He doesn't forget. Our vision is to transform the lives of children and young people by creating opportunities to help them develop their skills, advance them. Because at the end of the day, one thing I believe, and as Christians, is that everybody is made in the image of God. God is fair. Everybody has potential. We have something that God has put on the inside of us. But I'm sure that you will agree with me that a lot of times there's some children, because of their situations, because of the family, with which they're born in, they're not able to achieve that potential. You think of children in poverty. You think of young people in this country as well, where there are things, that are coming against them for our children as well. I'm just going to wait for them to finish. Yeah. Thank you very much. Can everybody see? Please, thank you so much. That's really kind. Thank you. You want me to stay over there? Okay. So, as I was saying, that the vision of God's Grace Foundation is to really reach children for Jesus, to help them achieve their potential. We do this through youth development, which is mainly in the United Kingdom, free study support in Greenwich. So we have a weekly study support, which we've been blessed to be funded, where we support children and young people in their maths and in English. And I remember I had a meeting with a funder on Wednesday, and one of the feedback we've had is a lot of our young people, they struggle with their grammar. The literacy level is quite low. So every week, by God's grace, we've been able to support children free of charge for them. We also run parenting workshops. This is part of what I'm doing today. Supporting children in poverty in West Africa. So we support children, especially in education. We have in Ibadan, we have a study support group in a center in one of the state schools where 80% of the children, they are not able to pay for WAEC fees, which is just 1,500 naira. We also run a girls empowerment program in Osun State to reduce teenage pregnancy. When they go on holiday, in the school, at least 50 girls will come back pregnant. So we do that in Osun State. And lastly, we do youth leaders training. It's all been by the grace of God. It's not by anything else, and God has been faithful. So today I'm just here to run a short seminar, on safeguarding children online and really looking at the impact of pornography and sexual exploitation. It's amazing. I don't know, it was in the news yesterday. I don't know if anybody saw it, especially on Sky News. They were talking about, they were calling for more restriction on pornography sites. You know, and I'm sure I have some surveys, and by the time you go through that, you will know that this is a big problem. I'm married. My husband couldn't make it today because my son has his piano lessons, and I have an 11-year-old son and a girl. She's 15. She's going to be 16 in 2 weeks' time. So it's amazing. We're preparing for the Sweet 16 party. She wants to go for a laser tag. You know, here it's so easy. You don't have to do a big party. What do you want to do? They just want to go out with their friends, and you just pay, and you know, everything is easy. You don't need a big party for that. So I don't like putting parties together. I'm not really keen on that, but at least I thank God for that. On Thursday, it would have been 18 years since I've been married. So, and to be honest, marriage is by the grace of God. We all know that. It's just, when you think of myself and my husband, when we were talking, he said, we always say, you know that if not for God, we won't be together, you know. And, you know, and thank God for what you said about honoring the prophet, you know, in your home. Even though I do this, you know, God always reminds me as well that, you know, you honor your husband. And I'm grateful for him because he's very supportive. He's very supportive. And because I had this vision when I was 19, when I met him in university then, I went to University of Ibadan, I told him, you know, that, you know what, I believe God has a work for me. So when I wanted to start in 2004, it would be 10 years by God's grace at the end of this year. He said, but you've always told me anyway. So when I met him, I knew my purpose had to do with working. I knew God had a ministry for me, and I told him. So it was like, you take me, or yes. So even for singles, it's good for you to know what you're about, so that when you meet your future person, you tell them. I told him immediately, and so there wasn't any problem. I said, but you've always told me that God has a ministry for you. So that it made it easier for me to just start. And because if you're not one, how can you flourish in what you're doing? So quickly. So when you think of safeguarding, what do we think? I like to be I like my seminars to be interactive. I want to hear from you as well. Apart from my definitions here, when you think of safeguarding, what comes to your mind? Anybody, please. Safeguard. When you think of we're talking about safeguarding children on the internet. So what comes to your mind when you think about safeguarding?
Protection.
Protection. Thank you.
Restriction.
Restriction. Okay. Okay, that's it. Anybody else? Safeguard. 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 Okay, thank you. Sorry? Safety. Boundaries. Yes. Okay. So that's, I think we've covered it. So when you think of safeguarding, like at my charity, I work with children and young people. Part of the law, we have to have a children and a child protection policy, which is on our website as well. And we also have like safeguard procedures where for everything. So if a child comes to us, if we feel a child is being abused, the steps that we take, we show that to the funders. That is it. So everybody that works with us, they know what to do if anything happens. So we have protection, precaution, defense, safety measure. So, you know, safety measure, you put safety in place. You know, for us who have young children, I remember when my children were young, I had a gate downstairs and upstairs at the top of the stairs so that to stop my son from going up. So that way, because if they go up, they can fall down. So that's a safety measure. So when we're talking about safeguarding our children online, you might not have children, but you might have nieces, you might be a youth leader in your church, you might be working with parents. So I believe that this will be useful for you. So protection, we're talking about defense. You know, we defend against something. So why do we think we need to safeguard our children? Just thinking about why do we think we need to safeguard our children? Anybody, please. I always want to hear from people. Thank you. Why do we think we need to safeguard? Don't look at your notes. Why do we think we need to safeguard our children? Anybody?
So that they should not go wrong.
Yes, that's a good one. So that they should not go wrong, to stop them from harming themselves. Anybody else? Why do we think we need to safeguard our children?
We need to safeguard them from dangers.
Thank you.
Dangers that happens now, in the present, in the future. There's so much happening around children that we need to safeguard them. We need to keep them safe. We need to defend them against all kinds of evil all around them.
Okay, thank you. That's really good. Anybody else? One last person? Okay, we'll move on. Thank you. So the main thing is we safeguard mainly because of abuse. We safeguard. Why do we have, as a charity, have safeguard procedures in place? Because there might be abuse. I have policy to say that anybody that is involved in my charity, this is what we expect. This is the behavior. There's some behavior we will not tolerate in the charity because of safeguarding. So because we had the first kind of abuse is, so I'm just taking this from my own procedures in the charity. So we have physical abuse, violence, causing injury or occurring regularly during childhood. This is not about smacking. In this country, it's not against the law to smack your child, but if you cannot use an implement. So if your child goes to school and tells his teacher, his or her teacher, that you use an implement, it's likely the teacher, the principal, the head teacher will call the social services on you. And you can't leave a mark on a child. You cannot. So you see, and when I run parenting workshop, you don't need social services in your business. You don't want them. And it's sad that there's a lot of African children that are being taken into care because of issue of corporal punishment. Not because, but by the time they go through all the procedure, they will now have something on their CLB certificate that says abuse. It will just say child abuse. It won't say you were accused, you smacked your child. It will just say, I know doctors who've been affected because of that. So you can discipline your child. You have to discipline your child. It's part of it. But make sure you do them within the law. And I know in this country it's not against the law to smack, but you can't use an implement and you can't leave a mark on a child. That becomes abuse under the law. Then you have sexual abuse. So unfortunately, it's occurring when somebody uses power or control to involve a child in sexual activity. Because they want to control the child. So these are the things that are happening. Next, please. Thank you. Then you have emotional abuse, which is persistent or severe emotional ill treatment of a child that is likely to cause serious harm to his or her development. So that's the kind of abuse. Then the last one is neglect. Involves persistently failing to meet a child's physical, psychological, or emotional needs. So you find that some parents have been arrested or their children have been taken into care because maybe you find a lot of single parents, they work long hours. I know some of African people, they work two jobs and they leave the children at home from morning till night. And sometimes children can harm themselves and the police will be called and they will arrest that parent for neglect. So let's be careful. We are here to protect our children as parents. Part of our job is to nurture our children because in the scheme of things, in God's plan, there's a plan for that child. When I look at my life, I grew up with my mom and my stepdad. They literally raised me. I didn't meet my dad until I was 20. So when I look at that, I look at God entrusted me with my stepdad and my mom. And to be honest, I have a good relationship with my dad now. You won't believe it. God, and that was, I don't know why I'm speaking about it. It's just that I just want to encourage you that healing comes with forgiveness.
Come on, true.
And I remember when I met my dad when I was in uni, I was 20. Healing had to come. I had to forgive him for healing to come. So even in marriages, a lot of times we have resentment. If you don't give it up, healing will not come.
Word.
So I've walked through it. You have to forgive. My siblings tell me, I don't know how you do it. And now I can't even remember. I'm telling you, I cannot. I speak to my dad nearly every 3 days. I cannot remember. And my stepdad I'm still close to. He's going to be 80 this year. So but I look at it that God decided that it was my stepdad and my mom that He entrusted me with. So your children, God has entrusted you with them. Whatever it is, I know that God had a plan. And my friend is always saying, people, you might not be who you are now if you didn't go through that. So, but healing comes through forgiveness. I tell some of my friends that have a problem with them, you have to forgive this guy because healing will not come if you don't forgive. Okay, next one. So dangers that children face online. What I have here, I've got, just tell me, I think I tell you this. Yeah, cyberbullying. So we have dangers that our children face online. So we have cyberbullying. We have exposure to pornography and other inappropriate content. So those are the things that our children are facing online. The dangers are there that we need to safeguard. Remember, don't forget, we're talking about safeguarding our children. We're safeguarding them. We're protecting them. Putting safety measures, security. Why? Because this is the first one is cyberbullying. Then you have exposure to pornography and other inappropriate content. Inappropriate content like self-harm websites. Some of our girls, they self-harm themselves. They injure themselves to get attention. It is happening. There's some website that they can go to and they tell them how to do it. Some of them, they commit suicide. I actually there was a case, and I think I have the newspaper cuttings in my bag, that this lady, this 15, a black girl, I think she was 15, is in my bag. It's like she committed suicide because she went to a website, and her parents were in the Evening Standard calling for a cop on this website that promotes self-harm and suicide. So those are the kind of things that are the dangers that are there. That's why we need to put safeguard in place for your children. If you're a youth leader, you need to put safeguard, especially if your church, you can have access to the internet in your church. You need to make sure there are enough appropriate controls so that they can be protected. It's just like a question, mommy, why? Because it's my responsibility. It's our responsibility as adults to look after our children. We need to protect them because of this danger. And it's unfortunate that some people that prey on young people, on children. It is happening. We need to look after our children. Befriending or communicating with people that they don't know. That's going on a lot. It's going on a lot. Then we're talking about grooming and sexual abuse. Then sexual exploitation. It is going on. So especially if you work with young people, you need to pray for them. You need to pray for young people. You need to pray for children. Anybody else has any other addition to the dangers that maybe I've missed?
How about alcoholism? Because a lot of the young, I think alcoholism, because a lot of our young people nowadays tend to think drinking is a way out. If they've got some issues indoors, they tend to drink to cover the issue, and so I think alcohol and drugs.
Yes, so access on
Yeah.
Has
a lot to do with our young people nowadays.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good point. Yes, because they can actually, there's some drugs they can purchase online.
Yeah.
There's some sites that they have age restriction, but they do ignore that, and you can go ahead and purchase some things online as well. Cyberbullying is a bullying that takes place online on social networks. An example is it happens a lot with girls, because they always say girls can be quite bitchy. My daughter goes to a girls' school, and what happens is, for example, a girl can take a picture, because if you're my friend on Facebook, you can take my picture. A girl can take a picture of her friend or somebody in her form or year and post it on Twitter and say, who cares? And people can now start, this is a real example I'm telling you, and people can now start commenting, yeah, we don't look at our nose. And before you know, they're bullying that girl online, and the whole world can say it. And it's very traumatizing for somebody, even for adults. I mean, I'm on Facebook and I see a lot of some adult comments. Some people are really abusing each other. I mean, no, but seriously. And you can say, who cares? I don't care. I'm like, for God's sake, get off it and sort yourself out. So imagine for adults, it can be, very, very difficult. Then talk about a young person. Boys, I think they sort it out with fees, but girls, they can be quite bitchy. So it happens a lot online, cyberbullying. Then you have, I think I've said that as well. The next one is, like the inappropriate content that they can access online. According to the Internet Watch Foundation, last year, 9,500 web pages were removed by them. So that means if you see a web page that you feel is not right, you can report to the Internet Watch Foundation and they will remove it. So they are like the police of online. But a lot of people don't even report it, you close it down. 70,000 indecent images of children were reported to the Child Exploitation and Online Protection Center in 2012. Hundreds of pro-eating disorder websites are estimated to exist. They encourage these people, like anorexia, bulimia, where they eat and they throw up. So, when I do my parenting teenagers workshop, one of the things that, as a teenagers, they're going through a lot of changes. Emotional, physical, social, and everything like that. So if a young person doesn't have that kind of encouragement, that we need to give them. I'm not making excuses for them. But sometimes when they don't have that, issues do develop. And sometimes that makes them vulnerable. It's not all of them, but that makes them vulnerable. For somebody who's thinking of self-harm, they don't need to go to a website that tells them this is what you do, this is how you do it. And suicide as well. And I think that's why, even when they make laws, they don't know the repercussion of it. We see it sometimes 10 years down the line. I just read something last week. You know, there's a clinic in Switzerland. Is it Switzerland where they can commit suicide?
Yeah.
Now they're even saying that people who are well, they're going there to kill themselves. It was supposed to be to allow those who are terminally ill to end their life if they want. They have a right to, they don't want to do it. But now, they're finding that people who are well, they're going there to end their life. And I was like, wow, we don't even know where this thing is going. And they were like, you see, they didn't know that it was going to come to that. And that's all for me. I've settled it as a Christian, and I tell my children, when God says don't do something, there's a reason why. And it's for your own good as well. So these are the kind of things that our children are exposed to. So we look at the damaging effects of pornography, which is a big one now. It's even like I told you, what's in the news yesterday. 28% of 11 to 18-year-olds feel that pornography has changed the way they think about relationships. The porn companies, they're very aggressive now. They use a lot of pop-ups. They're very aggressive. They do aggressive advertisement, and they want to get the young people because they're more reachable demographic and they're quite vulnerable. This is why, as a parent, you need to make sure, we'll come to that, things you need to do. And you know now, our young people, they have access, they have tablets. My son has got Kindle. They have everything. They can access the mobile phone, even TV, games, they can access the internet. So the porn companies, they're very aggressive. And I hear a lot of children, or even young people, who are even, I hear testimony of Christians who maybe they were addicted. They all, I mean, most of them say they started when they were young. I know of a girl who is addicted to porn, who said he just started with pop-ups and she clicked on it. So those are the things. I mean, we can talk, but this is statistics. In Childline, 475 counseling sessions were held with young people who have been exposed to sexually explicit images, including porn videos and online content. So these are the things that we're talking about that we need to safeguard our children. And damaging effects of it is as addictive as any drug. That's what we need to realize, that we need to know what our children, what they're doing online, and I tell them you can't